Welcome back everybody, doing something a bit different today. We're on the Aerox. We've got a stalling issue on this, pretty much ever since we got the bike actually. So I think the likelihood is that the carb is probably a bit blocked up. It hadn't been used for quite a long time before I bought this for Jean. It does run really well when it's up and running, but it does stall, especially when it's hot and you come to a stop, it stalls straight away. Not as simple as just changing the idle screw, I don't think. I think it does need a good clean. So we are going to have a look at taking off what we need to take off to get to the carb, pull that off, put that in the ultrasonic cleaner, give it a check over, and then get it back on the bike. So first things first, I need to get seat up, everything else off, and the inside cover, I think it's the helmet, like the bucket inside, that off so I can get to the carb. So let's get started. So this one is nice and easy. It's keyed to the left. That brings the seat forward. The crisps. Ugh, stink. Right, and in the bucket here, we've got a couple of bolts. Let's move you around so you can actually see what I'm doing. Okie dokie, so in here we've got a couple of what looks to me 10mm bolts. And then there's a 2 here as well. So that will be the seat off. Don't think we need to take this rear panel off yet. We'll find out. Pretty sure it's just this will come off with the seat. So, yep, 10mm. That's the seat off. Okie dokie, so here's the carb there. So we're going to need to get this panel off first, which I think just hooks in here. And we have, what, we've got one there, one there. How else is that held in? There's a zip tie on there. We might be able to just lever it up from that point. So let's get, there's no other obvious way of getting the carb out. So it is very oily in there as well, actually. Not too bad, I suppose. I'm just being critical. Fine. So the CDI on there by the looks of it. So we just need to be careful with things as we go. So let's get these two off and let's see where we stand. Right, how does this actually look on there? So we get that off there because this will then be loose off. There's 2 little ones at the back here as well, right there, so I'll get them off as well. And I think this whole section can come off without the petrol caps on. So I'll have a quick look with that one. And then these 2 off at the back. Yep, that's fine. Like that. There we go. And there we go. Give that all a good clean up before it goes back on as well. So that was the little breather hose here. That was clipped on. So other than that, it was quite straightforward to take off. And there's the latch mechanism as well. So it gives us an opportunity to give everything a good old clean when it's in here as well. And let's put some things back on. I don't really want to be breathing in petrol fumes whilst I'm doing this. Done. Okie dokie. Now we need to work out whether or not I can still get to this carb, because that's all I'm trying to do is get to the carb. What do we reckon? I can do that at all by just lifting that out the way. I might be able to, yeah. So it's held in by, let's just move you around a little bit because I can get you a bit closer. Okay, dokes. So it is held in underneath here by, we've got this clamp here, which should be a very, very easy one to do. We've got the cable which will come off with the screw. And then we've got a couple of fuel lines. We've got that one feels quite poorly actually, but we've got the small one going in, fuel line going in. In fact, the hoses feel really loose, but there's two hoses, there's two going on there, one for probably oil injection and one for fuel. And then we've got the air box. It'll be coming down from the air box, which will be around which way it's coming through from here into it. So that's what the big one is. And then it just goes in with a small Allen key. And actually you can't really see in there, which goes actually onto the engine itself. So it should be quite straightforward. We've got a fuel clamp on that main line there, which is, I've got a replacement clamp for that. That shouldn't be a problem. I might need a screwdriver on that one just to pick that one off. Let's get the okay, it's the fuel line. Let's get this out of the way. Okay. Okay. There's two little hex bolts here. That might be all it takes to remove the airbox. Right, so that's the airbox off. So we'll double check the filter in that as well. Okie dokie, so there should be some more wiggle room now, this carb. Right, okie dokie, so we just have those two lines are on. So it's just that one line there. Right, here's the carb. So I just need to get that. There might be actually something underneath that I can unclip. There is, look at that, that's even easier. Let's get that one unclipped. There we go, that's that. So we'll put those screws back on in a second and get that back down, that automatic choke. But although I might take it off to clean it anyway. And this is that. This is the other hose line going on there. Look, and there's no thingy bob for it. So again, I'm just going to mark it quickly so I've got some idea. So here is this one. Okay. Right, and that comes off, and there we go. Are you going to leak everywhere? Are you going to do anything? Let's have a look. There's fine. And there we go, we've got the carb off. Pretty oily. Definitely needs a good clean up, but let's get it in the ultrasonic. Right. Let's see what we're looking at here. Overall, not in particularly bad shape. There we go. Right, so that's the automatic choke. Relatively clean in there. Have a quick look in the float bolt. That goes on this side. There's obviously a little overflow. So that comes off. Difficult to tell in these dark plastic bowls if there's any crud in it or not. That's clear, not clogged. There is a bit of gunk in there, I have to admit. But The emulsion tube. And again, these are all going to go in the dishwasher, I was going to say then. Not in the dishwasher. But, hang on, there's some clogged ones there. Yeah, they're pretty clogged. Unless they're all supposed to be different sizes, but that looks pretty clogged to me. Either way, it's going to go in there. So that's that. Oh. Again, reasonably clean. Wow, that's a tiny jet, isn't it? How these are wind into. So, how far are they out? So we've got half one, half two, half three, half four. So that is wound out 4 times. And there is a little O-ring at the end there. Okay, so I need to be careful not to lose that. But that's fine, I'm not sure. Oh no, maybe there isn't. Okay, and for this one, half one, half two, 2.5. God, 2.5. Is that the same spring? It looks like a slightly different diameter spring. Yeah, they are different diameter springs. So that's the smaller of the spring. So let's get that one. You have the small one, like that, and you have the big one. Okay. Anything else I can get off? This, I'd kind of like to get the float out, but these seem to be almost pressed in. Oh no, they do come out. It looks okay. The whole carb doesn't look that bad. I think it's just a bit choked up. So let's get in the ultrasonic. Yeah, there's a lot of crud inside there. I don't know if you can see that. I don't know if you can actually, whether or not you can see inside there, but there is definitely some crud. That's where obviously the slide goes down and the needle valve goes in. So it's just filthy. So I'm going to give it a good clean and let's see where we go with that. I want to make sure I don't lose any little bits. The float itself is fine. I'd be surprised if there's anything wrong with that. Let's get that in the machine along with that. Yuck. Let's get that out as well. May as well clean everything we can. Because that's just the bowl drain, isn't it? Yeah. It's got a little O-ring on that as well. I think these screws are captive. Yeah, they're pretty captive. So I'm going to leave that one as it is. So that will go in like that, that will go in like that, that will go in a little pot thing. Right, I'm going to go put that in the ZZ machine, as Stretton would say, on M539. and we'll get back to you when it looks nice and pretty. Before. And after. It's much nicer. Okay, so the carb is back together and back on the bike, looking nice and clean. So we're happy with that. It's a bit of a faff getting it in there, but it does go in there. I've been checking the auto choke, and this thing I think is a bit buggered. It just doesn't feel great. The resistance is only like 10 ohms. And it's starting, the rubber's starting to come off here as well. So it's like a wax in here. It does heat up, but I'm not convinced that this is working correctly, to be fair. It doesn't seem to move even after a couple of minutes. So not happy with that. So I have bought another one on eBay. I bought an actual one, a genuine, I don't know, it is genuine Dadulthood actually, as is this one. This is the original Dadulthood one. So I have bought another one, it's 50 quid. So I'd rather not buy it, but you know, the cheap ones are like 15 quid and I think I'll be buying 3 of them. So I bought one on eBay, that should turn up in the next day or so, then I'll get that auto choke on there and that should be fine. Otherwise, I think it's okay, to be fair. I've given a bit of a clean up in here, all looks nice. The oiling system seems to be okay. Plenty of 2-stroke in there, which is great. Other than that, I've got no complaints. So I'm just gonna wait for the auto choke to turn up, get that on there, and we should be able to fire this back up and get it back on the road for Gigi. While waiting for the new auto choke to turn up, I am going to have a quick check of the rest of the service items. I'm going to pull the plug out in a second, and I'm also going to have a quick look at this airbox. I have a funny feeling this thing has not been serviced as I thought it had. So have a quick check. I think it's probably the right thing to do. I'm not sure what type of filter this has got, whether it's like a permanent metal one or whether it is a sponge one with oil on it and all that kind of stuff. So let's have a quick check and see what this is like. The rest of the bike looks very genuine. All the parts seem genuine for the bike. Doesn't seem to be any aftermarket cheapy crap bits, which is great. So fingers crossed, this should be okay. It's nice and clean in there. Let's have a quick look. Doesn't look all that bad, to be fair. Feels oiled, not in bad condition. I'm going to give it a bit of a clean up around this sealing area here as well, just to make sure there's no leaks or anything like that at all. And we'll get that back together again. That's absolutely fine. This was quite straightforward coming off, so it should be quite straightforward going back on. In theory, it's got one holding tab here, and then there's just 2 bolts that hold it on. So fingers crossed, should go up in there. That's that. Okay, that's back on. So that is the airbox back on, and it's on the carb, all cleaned up nice. Gene does need to clean his bike, but I'm not doing that for him. He can do that when he gets it back. So we are now just going to wait for the automatic choke to come in. I can't put anything else back on yet because I need to leave. Let's pick it back up. Yeah, I can't put anything back on yet. Any of these bolts back on here because I need to be able to lever this up to get to there's a cable under there for the automatic choke. So I do actually now have to wait until that's in before I put everything back together again. Okay, we have got the new choke at last. It's taken a long time. It's a bit annoying. Dean has not been able to use his bike for a little while. However, this is what we've got. It's a chilly day again today. So this is the old one with the cap, and this is the new one. So annoyingly, it does not come with the connection. So I'm going to actually have to cut that and solder the connection on the end, which seems utterly balmy, but either way, that's what it is. And then the other end looks right though. So yeah, I think we're going to be better off with that. How annoying. So let's bung it on there for the minute. So I am going to basically solder on or cut that end off that and solder it to this one, and we can then put it on the bike. How annoying. Okay, let's get it on the bike. Right, they're quite straightforward to put on these things, but I'm not sure how much you're going to be able to see. So it goes basically onto that tube there. So where was there it's like a keyway. So let's have a quick look and see on the old one. 1 second. Is that going to be enough like that? And that will draw it down, I think. Okay, like that. That goes on outside. Still getting damaged, and then the actual connection is under here. Which I'm not going to show you very easily, but it is under here. I've just got to try and find it again. Is it there? Where are you? There you are. It's here, look. Connect him up. There we go, that's that connected. Okay, so it is actually all back together again. So, fuel tank is still in. So, do we try and give it a start up? I think we might. Actually, we'll give it a go. It might take a little while because there's no fuel going through, obviously. Yeah. Okay, steering. Quite a bit more responsible as well, actually. You open the shutters and we're waiting for it to warm up. Definitely idling higher. And that all stuff to show that it had failed. Now it's going quite well, so I'm going to turn it off for a minute. Happy with that. Let's get everything back together on this. And then I'll take a quick spin out around the yard. First thing back on, let's remember to get the breather on here. There's not a lot of slack on that either, so it's going to be an interesting one to do. He's on. Okay, that's all still working. So, that's all of that. Wow, that's not a lot easier. So, a quick spin, shall we? So that's that one done. The idle was definitely not running correctly, and it was to do with that automatic idle, that Dadulthood automatic idle. £53 is all it cost. I did obviously clean the carb as well. You don't have to do that if you're doing this at home, but just to double check that manual, that automatic choke is working. It's definitely worth checking those things. Works like a brand new bike now. Starts great warm, starts great cold. So that was pretty easy for a £53 fix. Another thing you could do on these bikes, super simple. Get your young ones on the road, learning about the road, learning about traffic, all that kind of stuff. Yes, it's definitely more dangerous than sitting in front of a computer, but you want them driving cars at some point. Great to get them on the road and for them to start learning about road signs, how to sit in the road, how to be in the road, and other road users. So I'm happy that this bike is now back on the road, and Gene will be delighted when he gets back off Duke of Edinburgh that his bike is now ready to go. So thanks again for tuning in. I know this is slightly different to the stuff I'd normally do, but hopefully it's useful to somebody at home who's also got a moped for their 16-year-old and is wondering how to sort it out. So till next time, thanks again. Please like, share, subscribe, do all those lovely things, and I'll see you again soon.